Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Hannah Hassan, and I'm so happy to be here live with you today. This is This I Believe, the show. And we'll explain to you in just a moment exactly what that means. But before I get into that, I want to invite a friend on to join me. I know that you all are at home, chilling and really excited and happy for this show, and your hype and all that good stuff. So, from the comfort of wherever you are, I want you to give her all of the big round of applause that you can think of. Please give it up for Jen Bird. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Hannah.
You look good.
You always look good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I wanted to invite you on so that we can let the folks know about exactly what this is and why they're seeing me and you together here tonight. I will let y'all know that uh, about 3 years ago, Jen contacted me and said that essentially she wanted to infuse the arts and performance into um, some of the work that she does over at UNC Charlotte as an amazing professor. And we met at a coffee shop and we started talking about ways that we could do that. And sort of this relationship was born. Jen, will you tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and sort of all that?
Sure. Hey, everyone. First, I want to say thank you, Hannah. It is always a privilege to share any kind of stage with you, whether it's in front of a live audience or virtually, as we are here. And so I'm honored. Um, and honestly, this has been a highlight of my semester, in a very disorienting educational experience. So thank you. And I thank my students for that also. So I'm a lecturer in the Women's and Gender Studies program at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I direct the first year learning community for students who are coming into college and interested in social justice work for women, girls, all marginalized communities. So that's a little about me. Let me tell you about this, I believe. So originally started in 1950, okay, as a 1950s program of the same name. Each day, some 39 million Americans would gather around their radios. You can take yourselves back there to hear these compelling essays of folks like Eleanor Roosevelt, Jackie Robinson, Helen Keller, Harry Truman, right? And then also scientists, corporate folks, secretaries, cab drivers, so all walks of life. So it became a cultural phenomenon. 85 leading newspapers came to print this, I believe, column weekly. There was a collection of essays published in 52. The series went global. It was eventually translated in other languages. So clearly, 70 years ago, this project really struck a chord with Americans and folks outside the U.S. and has been since incorporated in academia. So with some student learning outcomes in mind for the assignment. So it must be a statement of belief about the students' values that rules their thoughts and actions. Okay, students must learn how to synthesize their writing, which means that it's read aloud. It's only about 3 minutes, so they have to condense their beliefs, right? And they have to speak and write in the way that they normally do, which makes it really quite intimate to listen to. Also, they must incorporate descriptive writing, so their thoughts about their beliefs are rooted in an experience or memories of an experience or two, which have to take us as the listener back to those moments and really makes the piece highly personal. And they must avoid saying what they don't believe. So avoiding negative statements, which is really the opposite of the original purpose, right? But I started bringing in this, I believe, 6 years ago, specifically for this first year learning community, because it was magic to have them profess their beliefs, really start thinking about, as first year students, what are my beliefs? And then just watching how vulnerable and trusting they became with one another, and really how close as a community they became after sharing their own beliefs and hearing those of others, right? So I will sum with the adapted invitation sent to essayists in the 1954 This I Believe series, okay? And I think that this is really will resonate with us today. We are sure the statement we ask from you can have wide and lasting influence. Never has the need for personal philosophies of this kind been so urgent. Your belief, simply and sincerely spoken, is sure to stimulate and help those who hear it. We are confident it will enrich them. May we have your contribution.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Everyone enjoys hearing these students' stories and their personal narratives that they are revealing to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. That I didn't know all of that history. I know that for the past 3 years, I've had the pleasure of attending the speeches, and really, I was attending them just so I could get more familiar with the class and what the students were learning and what they believe. And this year, after I heard the speeches, I said to Jen, like, let's let my time with them be about. Of course, the work that I do in the world is about personal stories and narrative and sharing our stories, but let's combine their own stories with these speeches or with just what they believe. And that is what the audience will experience tonight. We have had so much fun in this class. We had open mics together. I mean, when did you have an open mic night in college, right? Like, it's really been a magical time that we've experienced together. And so some of them took the themes of their original speeches and turned them into poetry or letters or songs or whatever. And then others said, I like my original speech, but also I believe this other thing, so let me write a poem about that. So that's what you're going to get tonight when you experience all of this goodness. Jen, I'm gonna let you go and really relish in the beauty that is all of these students, and we'll connect a little later, okay?
Hannah.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Just a little more for me, and we're gonna get going. All right. Friends, family, all present with us here on this live platform, thank you for attending. Chances are, you know one of the students who are performing tonight, or you might know me, or the wonderful Jen Bird, who you just experienced. Maybe one of us invited you to attend, and you came because we show up for the ones that we love and support. Through Zoom fatigue and meeting fatigue and staring at screens all day, I know that most of us are burnt out by the time that we reach the end of the work or school day. But here you are anyway. And I promise you, I promise this, it's going to be worth it. This cast of amazing students will not disappoint. And I know because I've been right there with them along the way as they have created these pieces that speak to the depths of who they are and what they believe. They are vulnerable, open hearted, full on, full speed ahead stories and poems and letters of love and heartache and justice and freedom and life and death and everything in between. These are their public but very personal declarations of who they are and what they believe. They will require you to listen intently, to open your mind and your heart, and to possibly consider, what is it that I believe? And how is my own story attached to that? Who am I in this world? And how have my experiences shaped the person that I've become and the things that I believe? And as you experience these performances, I ask that you pay close attention to a few things. We seek to tell stories in many ways with this show. One of them will be through the visual images that you'll see on your screen prior to and during the performances. These images include the names of the performers, the titles of their piece, and exactly what they believe. And if you look close enough, you'll see other small messages and nods to things that are woven throughout the images that were created just for these pieces. And also, they will include trigger warnings. If the piece that you're about to see has sensitive themes and content, you will see that ahead of time on the title image. So please read it in full. You'll notice that most of our performers are in their rooms. We could have found a way to create a virtual stage or make it feel more theatrical, but there is a message in the way that we have decided to appear today. College students across the country have had to manage this new normal in complicated ways. They're working so hard, many of them from home or confined to dorm rooms. And we wanted you to know not only what they think and what they believe, but we wanted you to have a window into their rooms. And finally, I know that many of you are watching from YouTube or Facebook, and chances are you'll notice that this link is coming directly from my page. Um, and you might know that my storytelling experiences include me typically as the writer and actors or storytellers as performers, but this ain't that. This is all them. And while I am so happy to present these students and their stories to you, it's important to point out that I coached them and supported them, but I did not write the stories. These are their thoughts and their stories from their hearts and heads through their mouths. Now, that's enough of my mouth. So please sit back and enjoy the students from UNC Charlotte's Gen X learning community with This I Believe. And as we wait to get started, which will be in just a second here, I would like to ask you to please make sure to share this with your friends and family, just really quick by posting it on your page and just saying, hey, watch along with me, okay? All right, I'm going to get out of here. Welcome to This I Believe.
On the day my grandfather died, just a few weeks ago, the rain stopped. My mom got up from her chair, looked to the backyard, and with a tinge of hope, but mostly anguish and tears streaming down her face, she said, "It's not there." The cardinal that had been sitting on the back fence for the past few days was gone. Earlier that day, I told her how cardinals represent lost loved ones. We lost my grandmother 2 years ago, and my thought is that the cardinal watching over my mom was her. The cardinal was gone because it went to be with my grandpa. The hope in my mom's tear-stained face as she went to go look for the cardinal is an image that will forever be etched into my mind. I've lost 3 important people in my life over the past few years: my grandma, my grandpa, and myself. Love is a crazy thing. It is simple yet complex. It is consuming and strong. Love doesn't disappear just because you can't see it. It's taken me years to understand that. I'm a freshman in college in the middle of a pandemic. What the heck? Sounds like a sci-fi movie. I know. Some days I wake up and I love life. I love the independence I have and being able to live my own life separate from my parents. Don't get me wrong, I love them. They have made me who I am today. My mother's courage, empathy, and supportiveness, and my father's intelligence, stability, and humor have allowed me to be the strong woman I am today. But there's something extremely enjoyable about not having to live under their roof. But some days, I wake up and it's hard. Life just seems to hit harder than normal. I want to crawl back into my twin XL cave and sleep the day away. Brushing my teeth, washing my face, showering, eating, everything ends up being a chore. I look at myself in the mirror and see a shell of a person I once knew. But the thing is, I've been through this before. Back in middle school and even high school, I went through similar things. But every time, I was able to pull myself back up those slippery steps that lead to the dungeon of my own mind. Self-love saved me. It showed me that I am valid. It gave me a foundation to build my love for others on. I've learned that this loving, this healing, this looking in the mirror and accepting what I see, it's hard. But I've also learned that storms bring rainbows. Pain brings healing. It has to. I used to give my heart to people, allow them to hold it in their hands, and learn to love me just to throw it away. I've always said that I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I keep my pain close to me. Owning my stories and therefore loving myself in the process is one of the bravest things I've ever done and will continue to do for the rest of my life. So, when I see a cardinal, I know that it is there to remind me of my strength. It is there to give me strength from my loved ones. My grandmother's kindness, my grandfather's conviction, my mother's empathy, my father's stability, my sister's tenacity, and my brother's tenderheartedness. Cardinals represent messages from lost loved ones, but I think cardinals also represent the lost love we've had for ourselves. Each time we love and lose ourselves, it allows us to fall in love in completely different ways. So, cardinals remind me of all the past love I've had for myself. It's a reminder of my power, strength, courage, positivity, empathy, grace. I want to end this with a message to two people. To my mom, thank you. Thank you for showing me strength and what it means to be human. Thank you for being my rock and allowing me to be yours when you need it. Keep looking for the cardinals. They'll be back. And finally, to myself. If I could write a letter to younger us detailing all the crap that will happen, I would, but I can't. If I could write a letter to older us detailing all the crap that will happen, I would, but I can't. All I can say is live through the hard experiences because you grow through what you go through. Find the cardinals and love with kindness, conviction, empathy, stability, tenacity, and tenderheartedness. You got this.
Dear society, universe, or whoever can hear me, I wonder what it feels like to be in control of your destiny, be able to call the shots in your life and make decisions you can look back on and have no regrets. To some, it may seem something average or easy, but to me, it seems to be difficult to achieve. I have been raised to please others before I could even please myself. The fact that I'm a first-generation American doesn't really help either. Your family will come from a country with a specific culture and societal norm to one that is the complete opposite in traditions and survival. My parents come from a country in West Africa called Niger. The main religion in Niger is Islam. We also have so many languages. Unlike America, we have a diverse group of people forced to conform into an identity that makes people comfortable. I personally feel that I'm not welcome in either country. I love both with all my heart, but America can't seem to get past the fact that I wear a hijab and speak languages they never heard before. My blood is from people they consider third world, and Niger can't seem to get past the fact that I was born on the lands of another country. They don't care that I have their blood coursing through my veins, or that I speak their language, cook their food, and still live like I'm in Niger on the land I was born in. I had multiple encounters where I realized, oh, I don't belong here in both countries. So where do I belong? It seems that first-generation Americans never really have a place to call home. When someone asks, where are you from? It's usually pick the one that didn't insult you that day. I remember when I was 16 years old at school, some of my classmates were playing a game. When I asked to join, they said I wouldn't know how to play because I wasn't American enough. I didn't know their culture enough to play is what they meant. To an extent, they were right. I didn't know enough to play. I was raised to be Nigerian. I was raised to be a daughter that my parents' country would respect. They made me learn how to cook, speak the language, and so much more, so that people wouldn't say I'm unsympathetic to my country. I love my country, but do they love me back? When will I be able to live for myself and not for the sake of the societal eye? I have tried so hard to find an identity by listening to others. Now I'm at the point where I can't tell you who I am. All that I know is I'm a daughter, sister, and I don't know what comes after that. I guess we can start with my brutal honesty, my hunger for change, and hope that one day I will find a place where I belong. I believe that one day everyone who faces my predicament will find their own acceptance. They'll be able to say with confidence who they are. But for now, I'll try to survive this limbo of a life I live, trying to find acceptance in either country that decides to finally accept me.
I've never been one to keep a consistent journal. My room is cluttered with all the ones I've accumulated over the years, written in a few times, occasionally torn a few pages out, and forgotten about as quickly as I got them. I just got a new journal. It'll probably end up like the rest. But before this one gets added to the pile of books on my floor, in my attempt to reflect and be poetic, I scribbled down a few thoughts into my newest diary of a recovering doormat, edition 21. To the little girl with the soft-spoken voice, who doubles as a doormat, who does everything on others' time, who makes it her duty to get everyone to like her, who makes sure everyone's needs are taken care of before her own. Why? I used to be you, and maybe a piece of you will always remain with me. It's as if early on in life, when everyone was picking out their character, you got overlooked. You feel as if you were destined to be the supporting character, the shadow, the sidekick, the one who looks familiar, but I'm not really sure of their name. I know that feeling. Like the sidekicks, you never got your moment. You didn't want to stick around for your sequel because you were scared that you might miss something from the main feature. You were too busy bouncing around from school to school to even get to know anyone. You were too caught up taking care of others while no one noticed that you've missed 2 showers this week and you've gotten even quieter than usual, as if that was even possible. You were swept aside under the doormat that's made itself into your home. It's not really your home, and I know you know that. To the little girl who takes a part-time role as the shadow in every corner of every room, why conform to what they want you to be? Only a fraction of yourself, fragmented, voiceless. You're hidden like the dark side of the waxing gibbous moon. Your diplomatic outlook on life is such a great asset, but it's also your downfall. I know you hate to hear this, but it's impossible to get everyone to like you. I know what it's like to stay up until the bags under your eyes are purple, writing down everything you wished you could have said in your notes app, your thoughts flowing and swelling like a stream after the harsh rainstorm that flooded your home. No one's ever going to see that, but didn't it feel so good to get out? Those bags won't disappear overnight. I know what it's like to walk away with so much more on the tip of your tongue, if only you could get it out. And I know you can. I know how it feels to want to speak up so loudly and scream your truth from the top of the tallest building in the skyline, your ideas taking flights on the backs of the birds that are escaping the winter cold. But something stops you. You can't step on anyone's toes. But oh, yes you can. And you will many times. Eggshells were meant to be broken. You'll learn that with age, your battles are worth fighting. Your voice is worth being heard. You are not that doormat you once were. There's no welcome sign at your feet anymore. Their authority is not welcome because your voice doesn't beg for belonging. It can be uncomfortable at times. It can feel like a losing fight. It can feel like no one is hearing you out, but I'm listening. Even if I have to strain my ears to hear your canary-like voice, I'm listening, and I hear you. To the little girl with a soft-spoken voice, you'll soon learn how exhilarating it is to rebel. To the little girl with the soft-spoken voice, if they were really your friends, you wouldn't have to prove anything to make them like you. To the little girl with the soft-spoken voice, throw the doormat in the wash, lace up your boots, and start stomping. To the little girl with the soft-spoken voice, keep speaking. The world wants to hear you. The world needs to hear you. To the little girl with the soft-spoken voice, I hear you. Things won't always be this way, and you will find your voice. I promise.
Days feel like years. Going outside feels like you're in a constant loop of the high school mile. Round and round the track you go. When can you stop? Nobody knows. You take steps of uncertainty, of doubt, of lifelessness. You feel like nothing, just a walking structure of bones and muscles struggling to stay upright. To the broken girl hunched over and sobbing. This is only the beginning. It gets better. To the broken girl with scars painted up and down her arms. To this day, you can't handle the sight of perfectly imperfect cuts on arms. You can't hear, say, or even type the word slit without your heart skipping a beat. You have no physical proof of your self-abuse, but your mind is polluted with trauma. To the broken girl with scars painted up and down her arms. You are strong, and you chose to fight. To the broken girl standing at her bathroom sink, blade to wrist. You won't go through with it. The sight of crimson dripping and your heart slowly stopping doesn't work well with anxiety. No, anxiety needs its victim's blood pumping. It's a junkie who will not let you cut off its fix. Put the blade down, call your grandfather, and tell no one about the scars on your fingers that you've done to ease into it. To the broken girl standing at her bathroom sink, blade to wrist. You stopped because you knew you were worthy of life. You did that, not your anxiety. To the broken girls crying and sobbing and suffocating in an invisible ocean, to those who find a hopeful world hopeless, to those who hurt so hard the self-inflicted cuts are more ticklish than painful, to the broken girls standing at their bathroom sink, blade to wrist, absolutely terrified. Put the blade down, take a deep breath, and get the help you deserve. To all the broken girls in this world, I love you. I am you, and your story does not stop at that bathroom sink.
Nobody suppresses a burning flame unless they want it to be put out. In people's minds, fire causes destruction. It starts small, like an elbow tipping a candle out of its candelabra, or a match that was too slippery to the touch. But very quickly, it can begin to spread and burn. A small flicker turns into a fiery roar. Everyone immediately shifts their glance to its intensity. The rage built up inside of you for so long has the chance to finally break free and experience the fresh air of the night sky. But it's cold outside, and others will be there with water buckets and fire extinguishers to quickly try and put it out. Expression can come in so many different ways, and when people don't approve of it, or if it offends them, they're more than happy to lick their fingers and pinch the flame on your match. Would you like to know what all of our flames can look like? It looks like wearing whatever you want, looking however you want, and cherishing yourself for who you are. It looks like when you're getting dressed for the day that you're not flooded with anxiety about how you'll be commented on when you leave your front door. The dark makeup, the piercings, the tattoos, the dyed hair, and the body hair are seen as vibrant and beautiful instead of sneered at and passively shamed for. It looks like being able to show more skin through your clothes, not as an invitation to verbally, physically, or sexually harass you just because you were asking for it with that dress on, but as a symbol for freedom and self-love. It looks like people's skin color not warranting violence death and discrimination. It looks like women having equal status in the workplace, both corporally and verbally, and not seen as inferior because fire is not something people want to play around with. Your flame will not hesitate to let you know what you're looking for. Expressing yourself openly will help others understand that your match is a fire devil. Your interests and desire to show your favorite part of yourself to the world will not allow others to put out your flame. Sincerely yours, a passionate kindler.
I believe art can heal our pain. One thing I don't need is any more apologies. I got sorry greeting me at my front door. You can keep yours. I don't know what to do with them. They don't open doors or bring the sun back. They don't make me happy or get a morning paper. Then nobody stop using my tears to wash cars. 'Cause of sorry, I'm simply tired of collecting. I didn't know it was so important to you. I'm gonna have to throw some away. I can't get to all the clothes in my closet for all the sorries. I'm gonna take a sign to my door, leave a message by the phone. If you called to say you're sorry, call somebody else. I don't use them anymore. I let a sorry, didn't mean to, and how could I know about that? Take a walk down a dark and musty street in Brooklyn. I'm gonna do exactly what I want to, and I won't be sorry for none of it. Let a sorry soothe your soul. I'm gonna soothe mine. You are always inconsistent. Doing something and then being sorry, beating my heart to death. Talking about you sorry. Well, I will not call. I'm not gonna be nice. I will raise my voice and scream and holler and break things and race the engine and tell all your secrets about yourself to your face. And I will list in detail every one of my wonderful lovers in their ways. I will play Oliver Lake loud, and I won't be sorry for none of it. I loved you on purpose. I was open on purpose. I still crave vulnerability and close talk. I'm not even sorry about you being sorry. You can carry all the guilt and grime you wanna, just don't give it to me. I can't use another sorry. Next time, you should admit your mean, low life, trifling, and no count straight out. Instead of being sorry all the time, enjoy being yourself. And the end poetry is what got me out of my lowest points in life, other than music. I can truly say art helped my pain. Maybe not all of it, but it healed enough. I believe art can heal your pain.
As a child, I was always hit with the question, what are you? And as a literal-minded child I would respond with, a girl, because that is what I am. But I'm not the superficial anymore, and I know what people are referring to. My bouncy curls draw people in, and my skin color leaves people with the question, what is she? But I'm just as confused as you are, because my mother is black and my father is white, and so I fall somewhere in between. At my middle school, the population of students was majority white, and as an 11-year-old in the 6th grade, my main goal was to fit in with the rest of the pack. I did everything I could to make it seem like I was one of them. I wore the high-up ponytails that pulled my hair back so tight it felt like my edges were going to pop, and I decorated myself with colorful Nike headbands that matched both my Nike shorts and my Nike shoes. I behaved differently too. I acted timidly around my white peers so they would not think that I was too loud or obnoxious like the other black kids in my classes. And I did best in school so that my white friends could see that I was just like them and that I too could get into the AB honor roll breakfast. And so, running this long game of trying to be white, I neglected the Black part of me because in my mind, all that was associated with Blackness was trouble and failure. But things started to shift when I got to high school. I went from going to a majority white populated environment to one that was heavily filled with the presence of Black and Hispanics. And I was not new to being around Black people. I mean, half of my family is Black. But in school and being around my Black peers, it was different. There was still this constant urge to want to fit in. I again wore what I saw others wearing, with my Black Jordan 1s and skinny jeans, and I finally released my curls from the shackles of the ponytail and started to slowly recognize the Black part of me. I can never properly mimic AAV slang, and so my Black peers would constantly tell me that I talked like a white girl. But what was I to do? I mean, I changed my hair and I changed my clothes, but no matter what I did not completely fit here either. The constant battle between trying to act white or Black is antagonizing. I'm not white enough to enjoy the privileges that my white classmates receive, but I do not have to face the same daily hardships of my Black colleagues either. My skin color is just a few shades too dark to where my voice is disregarded in the white conversation, but not posed as a threat to others. My lightness allows me to not have to worry about fearing for my life when walking down the street, or having to ever consider walking into a store and being followed by security. My lightness is my savior that prevents me from being kicked and bruised, and is my shield that protects me from being killed at the hands of the police. My lightness, my somewhere in between, is my safety net that prevents others from seeing me as dangerous or criminal. I'm still trying, however, to find the balance in recognizing both aspects of my race. It's hard because I can't totally eradicate my whiteness that carries privilege, and I cannot reject my underrepresented Blackness either. I'm trying to find ways in which I can empower the Black voice, but not over-colonize it in ways that it already has been. I want to help those who face hardships because of their skin and try and use my lightness as the reason why people may pay attention. Hopefully someday, though, I will learn how to properly fall somewhere in between.
When I was growing up, I kept everything inside. I grew up in a Latino household in which we believed that our strong Mexican blood cures all mental illnesses. You don't have anxiety, they said. You're just a little stressed. While I was struggling to breathe because my chest would close up and I felt like my lungs were being squeezed out by some invisible force. You don't have a depression. What do you have to be sad about? We give you everything you need. Yet, in my head, I felt a constant battle, a constant struggle with myself. Don't get me wrong, I love my Mexican roots and the culture that comes with it. But it can be hard to love yourself when you're the eldest daughter and therefore a matriarch. Constantly having to take care of my siblings, doing way more than a young girl should. Pon a todos los demás enfrente de ti. Ofrece todo a Dios que Él te cuida. Dale lo mejor a tu papá y tu hermano y deja el pedazo más chiquito para ti. I was constantly told that to think of myself before others was to be selfish, and therefore I've been called selfish my whole life. But that's okay. I'm okay with being selfish if it means checking in on myself and doing things for me and because I want to do it. Not being selfish has gotten me in a lot of trouble. Like the time I went to go take care of a suicidal drunk boy and instead I ended up pushed to the wall, screamed at, if I didn't have a girlfriend, you would be so fucked. Or all the times I've helped my friends with their mental health while I was dying on the inside. But it's all in the past now. Yet, when I get sad about anything, I still don't talk about it. And I still hold a piece of that little girl inside me. And at night, I'll cry for her sometimes. I wish she knew that it's okay to be sad. Don't let mom get to you. Talk to dad instead. He'll understand. But it's all in the past now. I've grown and I've learned so many things, and it's been time to let go of it all. I have a new story now, a new beginning. I realized that to be my most authentic self, I must let myself be, and so I did. I let myself be still and free at the same time. I discovered that the secret to life is simple, and it is simply to exist in the present moment. I say this is a beginning because ever since then, I have grown into the best version of myself I could have imagined. The moment of letting go was so intense. Imagine all the worries one has ever had becoming tangible and exploding like a beautiful show of fireworks. And that moment of eureka allowed me to see myself for who I really am. And I let myself enjoy life in a way I had never done before. I have now embarked on this new journey, and I have relinquished the fears that tied me down the most, and that little girl no longer defines me. Even though it's still hard to talk about my feelings, I've learned to take each day one at a time and enjoying every single moment I can, even the worst, the most stressful ones. Because life is about experiences and constantly staying curious, and that's what I'm doing. I found someone whose energy matches mine, someone who makes me better in all the ways I didn't even know I needed to improve in, and I'm so grateful. This summer, I felt like a beautiful butterfly flying through the wind, no longer holding on to what needed to have been let go of a long time ago, no longer getting constantly stuck in my head, wrapped up in my own thoughts. Don't get me wrong though, everything is not so easy all of a sudden, but this time I have the courage to face it all. I'm taking this time to appreciate everything that I have, and even though it's not easy, sometimes I still try. Try and I try because trying is better than not at all. And I realize that if you try something enough times, eventually you'll get it, and this is the philosophy I've been going by. I try not to get discouraged so that I can continue trying, and I know that eventually I'll make it all work out. I'm hopeful for what the future holds. I know that anything I set my mind to, I can do, and I've set my mind to a lot of things. I've struggled a lot in the past, and I was forced to grow up a lot sooner than I should have had to. But my past is how I know my future will be bright. I survived the days I thought I would never get through, and the experience of going through that is how I know I can do anything. It's a wonderful feeling to be hopeful for something I never even thought would happen. The future is bright, and I am hopeful.
Please, don't come into my life if the only thing you can provide is butterflies and sleepless nights. I've cried myself to sleep on a bathroom floor too many times to count, over too many human beings with different faces and the same outcome. Please, don't give me a reason to mask my anxiety's excitement, because I will use it as an excuse to tear down my walls and become defenseless, yet again, another time. Please, don't pretend to reciprocate emotion and feeling while you feed off my passion and vulnerability, regardless of your ability to be discreet about it or not. Please, don't use my past to justify your diagnosis of my craziness. My response to the pain you inflicted isn't available for critique. And I'm sure right about now you're thinking, oh, this was addressed to the wrong person. This must be for someone's future spouse. But no, it was written for you with extra care and consideration. It is intended for the man that used his fatherhood as an excuse to fuck off and act a fool, who decided it wasn't worth it to tend to the seed you planted oh so irresponsibly, as the circumstances of the incident still produced a sapling, regardless of your feelings. This letter is addressed to you before you became aware of my potentiality, from yours truly, so please, don't let me think my mental health is subject to your decision on your availability. Please don't fill my head with fake proclamations of devotion and affection and my heart with false hope, because if I feel like it's complete bullshit that I'm able to distinguish the difference between genuine love and complete manipulation of a child's innocence, and your dumbass can't seem to make the effort to do the same, then it should be pretty damn clear to any audience the parental abilities belong to this daydream of potentiality and not the human being that refers to himself as a good man. Your impact has caused my soul to shatter into a gazillion little pieces, but I'm finally learning to put myself back together on my own terms, without the next temporary high from your biological human affection. And if you think that's all thanks to you, you might be right. Your lack of devotion may have taught me to provide for myself, but you don't deserve an ounce of credit for my resilience.
off the edge. I'm falling off the edge. My heart is racing. My body is shaking. My body is numb. Am I going to die? There's so much I wanted to experience. Is this my time in the world? If so, I have a few things to say. I want my friends to remember me as somebody who made them laugh in dark times, someone who always did their best in school, and someone who let their mind take control of them.
Identity has been a lifelong puppet show. Actions manipulated by an elderly white man, pulling my strings in every direction, becoming tangled in contradictions. At 37, Mama fell pregnant with me, just 2 weeks before having her tubes tied. She calls me her surprise blessing because my existence temporarily cured her of the disease that has entangled generations of women long before her and I. Ed had always yearned for a son like him, a motorcycling companion, one that would play football and join the Coast Guard, just like he did. A son he ultimately never produced, leaving a gaping hole dug by his own egotistical need for control. Instead, a daughter, his complete opposite in every sense of the word. Surprise blessing became another word for mistake. I have my mother's cheekbones, intellect, and take no shit attitude. My likeness to Ed found only in the chin dimple he scorned his entire life. My least favorite feature of my face, forever serving as a constant reminder of my failure to be the son that he always wanted. I felt the most loved by him when I played with dinosaurs and climbed trees and let him call me boy. I was 6. But I still wasn't his ideal. I paired my motorcycle t-shirts with skirts and big pink boots that he absolutely despised. Ed thought I was too feminine, too emotional, my tears priming my skin for a stinging strike that was somehow less painful than all of the insults that he shot at me. He blamed ballet for making me soft as I glided across the stage on half-healed broken toes with a smile on my face, no strings attached. He did what he could to be the puppeteer, only fueling my desire to cut the strings tying us together. Every birthday and holiday spent wishing to be cut free. And by my 13th, Mama was separated from him. She granted me the freedom of identity exploration that Ed had hung just out of my reach. My broken toes were only able to take me so far. Gradually tethering myself to the person I wanted to be, I composed myself authentically into the fluidity that I had always dreamt of. Partially unbeknownst to Ed, my existence is everything he didn't want from me. Ambiguous words that he cannot define have become my new home where he cannot reside, hung so far out of his reach. New ties pulled me away from his last hope of my validity as his child and likeness to him, a career in medicine through which he would live vicariously. Psychology became my new weapon, aiding me in the navigation through his manipulation and breaking down the false personality that he performed for so long. His blatant narcissism blinds reality, a leech attaching himself to one innocent man after the next, sucking the life out of them and moving on. The bisexual, non-conforming leftist witch daughter who possesses half of his DNA and his ugly chin dimple is a stranger to him, and I plan to keep myself untied. I am free to walk the thread between binaries, cross it back and forth 1,000 times with no strings pulling me from one side to the other, solely my own ever-changing will. Ed is no longer the puppeteer, and that position has since been terminated. I am free, no strings attached.
A Black woman died today. I washed my hair. In times of stress, I clean, and today was no different. Oluwatoyin Salau, 19 years old, killed in her prime after fighting for so long. The timeline saw everything. Tweets earlier in the week saying, 19 years old, 5'7", 120 pounds, missing, bring her home safe. Only days earlier, she had tweeted about being unsafe, about surviving assault. Support poured in, but only from sisters. Where was everyone else? I was sick to my stomach after seeing how long her account had been active for. 3 days. The close community of people following her story made as much noise as we could. We were angry off the coattails of George Floyd's murder and angry at the way Oluwatoyin's name barely broke outside of our bubble. I made a point to write her full name in every tweet that I sent out. Oluwatoyin. 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 Her full name. Because she was a full woman who lived a full life. I prayed that she would be found. And she was. But she was not alive. A Black woman died today when she wasn't brought to justice. I remember calling my mother angry with the world, wondering why the community of men among us had abandoned her after she fought so hard for us all. My mother sighed, a sigh that told me that she expected me to understand this already. A sigh that revealed her own struggle with being unheard. It revealed her own suffering. The sigh was tinged with sorrow, listening to her only child cry. We are the only ones who will ever have each other, she said. Wubeyadeng, what will you do? A lonely statement, reinforcing the truth that I had always known. To be Black, to not be a man, it reins you to the shadows of society, no matter how hyper-visible your suffering is. The Say Her Name movement gained traction this year. It was a hashtag meant to highlight the invisible, often women and gender non-conforming people, since they aren't really highlighted in the conversation around police brutality. And because of that, many believe that police brutality only affects Black men. In the same breath as the hashtag began to enact change, the hashtag Say His Name movement overshadowed it. A strange symbolism of the broken community that we are forced to house ourselves in, one that we built and the same one that forgets that we built it. I cried again when we finally got off the phone. Not sure if the tears were for Oluwatoyin, for myself, for the world. They poured down my face regardless of the reason. A Black woman died today when the world moved on. The gruesome details of her last moments plastered the timeline for only a week. Vigils were held, prayers were said, conversations were had, but just as quickly as her name came, her name left. Only spoken by the folk in the shadows, continuing to cry, waiting for justice for our sister. The amount of violence forced us to move on. More of us were dying, and the weight of all of us just holding their name in our hearts, it was too heavy. I still carry her name with me. I wait for the day the community has conversations about inter-community violence, but I don't hold my breath. She was left behind, but the sorrow, it still stays. Her name isn't as known as many other people who have been killed. What's the point of hyper-visible suffering if no one is there to hear it? If your cries are ignored, regardless of how loud they are, what's the point? If a sister dies in America and everyone's around to hear it, Black women continue to die, and I'm running out of shampoo.
If I had known that there were 400,000 kinds of flowers, I wouldn't have starved myself. I wouldn't have compared myself to others. I wouldn't have cried so much. If I had known that there were 400,000 kinds of flowers, I would have been more patient. I would have given myself some time to grow. I would have taken better care of myself. If I had known that there are 400,000 kinds of flowers, I would have drunk more water. I would have been more understanding. I would have loved myself. There are 400,000 kinds of flowers, and humanity is a garden. I am a flower. And just because I look different from other flowers doesn't mean that nobody would want to pick me. I have been patient with myself. I have good days and bad days, but even rain helps flowers grow.
Whew. But even rain helps flowers grow. I think that that is
The hashtag say
quite a beautiful way to end tonight. This has been this, I believe, the show. So stories and poems and letters from the UNC Charlotte Gender Excellence Learning Community. All of what you heard tonight were from students. These are their thoughts, their beliefs, their stories, the pieces that inspire them, that create change in their life and hopefully in our world. And I am so grateful that I've had the opportunity to walk with them down this path of creating these pieces. A huge, huge thank you. To everybody there in the Women and Gender Study Department at UNC Charlotte, to Jen, the fearless leader of these students, the professor who had the foresight to understand the importance of bringing art into her classroom. And then to all of the really amazing humans that you heard from tonight. I don't know about you, but I believe in Allie, in Janita, in Marissa, in Kayla, in Peyton, in Nia, in Zoe, in Sophia, in Rianne, and Layla, and Morgan, and Abina, and Abby. Thank you all for giving of your time and your talent and the treasure that is your stories. Enjoy the rest of your 2020, and we will see you next time.